how to shift your frequency so that you can shift your reality. How to shift your frequency so that you can shift your reality. There is a way to do this in absolutely any moment. Many teachers talk about it. For example, Abraham Hicks, she will talk about going more general and, just thinking about blue glass and feathers. That's an example she uses of something that makes you feel good. Feathers, they're so beautiful and light and they just make you feel inspired. And blue glass is so gorgeous. She has a story about it. But she'll tell you to go general if something is feeling too particular and it's like stressing you out, to just get general and I am abundant, I am healthy, wealthy, and wise, that kind of thing, feeling better about the more general things. I'm going to show you I'm going to talk a little bit about how to do that in any situation that you're in right now, or remind us at least how to do this. So, we know that we create our own realities, that our outer world is a reflection of our inner frequency. As Jesus said that, if we ask, we shall receive. And our frequency is the asking, and we're always receiving. Now, I do want to point out that sometimes that truth can make us feel judged. It's the perspective that we're taking at the time. Like, oh, I deserve this. That is never, ever, ever the message. Never, ever, ever the message. You see, because from that general or that higher perspective, there isn't anything that is wrong. We're all here just to have an experience. We're all here to expand by experiencing creation. And so it isn't there. If you're in the space of feeling suffering, then that could be the perspective that you take. If I create my own reality, so I created this, it means I'm bad. Not that at all. It means I made a mistake. Nope, not that at all. That's not what it means. And that's literally if you're feeling that, then go general. And as Abraham Hicks says, or just go to a more expanded perspective about things that are easier to experience. But since we do, so having said that, we create our own reality. Our frequency is what broadcasts the outer reality onto a field. And that is essentially, that's the relationship. Inner world, outer world. They are 100% correlated with one another. So sometimes when we're walking around the world and we're trying to create things in our lives, career, relationships, whatever it is, we may feel overwhelmed. And sometimes we get to a point where we want to create a reality and we want to be in a context that helps us that supports our feelings of flourishing and inspiration. And so we kind of get like a catch-22. We feel like, well, the reason I feel bad is because I have this outer reality. And it's not that that's untrue, but there are ways to be able to start to shift the inner reality regardless of the context of the outer reality, thereby eventually shifting the outer reality. Does that land on you guys? I'm going to let that sit for a second. Regardless of the context, you have a context, it's good, bad, or mundane. You can shift to the highest possible perspective in your inner world about it. And that's how we make steps forward in shifting our inner frequency to shift our outer reality. And so sometimes when we're in that space of wanting to create something, create many things, what choices do I make in order to move closer to my highest good, inside and out? Those choices can feel overwhelming. What do I even wish for? If I want to place my order with the universe, what is my purpose? What are the desires that I have? What are the specifics of those desires? And how do I isolate those, knowing what to do? And sometimes it's as silly as knowing what to do tonight. My friend wants me to go to a party, but I am not sure if I should go to the party or if I would do better to stay home. Well, in all of that chaos and that turmoil that we might experience sometimes, the overwhelm, the frustration. One time my spirit guides said to me that it doesn't matter what choice you make. It only matters who you are when you make the choice. It doesn't matter what choice you make. It only matters who you are when you make the choice. So let me break that down for you a little bit. What choice you make would be conditions, right? Who you are when you make the choice is referring to your frequency. meaning what aspect of yourself, what version of yourself are you? Because in any moment, we could be a more loving version of ourselves or a more fearful version of ourselves. More loving, more connected, or more separated in our awareness, right? We always have that option. We could have just won the lottery, and we still even have, you think, well, I won the lottery. It's basically like, farting unicorn dust, right? Because it's perfect. There's nothing better than having millions and millions of dollars. Not true. We've seen people who win the lottery and it makes their lives worse, right? Because that's just a condition. The money, that experience, that's a total condition. And, you could be in the experience of winning the lottery and be completely fearful, frustrated, scared, separated, and it creates it enhances the frequency that you've been experiencing. So you see, it's more about who you are, which version of yourself or your field, the field that you emit. So when I'm talking about field, pardon me, I'm so wiggly when I teach and stuff. Talking about field, so your field is basically the frequency emitting. So if you have you ever been driving along a really hot summer day and you look out and you see the wavy lines coming off of the road? Well, that's the electromagnetic field of the heat and the gases and stuff like that. That's your aura, basically. So what your aura, your electromagnetic field, is the expression of your vibration, the expression of your feeling state. So your frequency or your feeling state, your frequency or vibration is your feeling state. In a way, you could say it's your emotions, but it's even more than that. It's your beingness. And that boils down to, really, or at the most subtle level of it, is a feeling state. And that is what is your signal, like a radio signal going out from a radio tower. And as it's going out, it is creating a field of energy. It is, if you could think of a pot steaming and the steam coming up, the water evaporating, that is a field of steam. And so it essentially makes a grid, just like a matrix kind of grid, of infinite, endless energy streams. And it reaches out and it connects to the greater field, which is the all. And that's how, it is a sea of energy, and we are, in highest truth, only one energy. So you have absolute power to shift your field in any moment. So you can become very present and see the love as much as such that it is. Sometimes if something is very difficult, then one of the best things we can do is pivot just a little bit and say, I wonder what good will come of this. And not having, do our best to release the conditions. And there are some really difficult things in life. And so it's okay, it's important to feel everything that could come your way. But if we can shift as much as possible to, I wonder what good will come of this. And it will always align you in the context to the best thing that you can experience. So let me explain what I mean by that. It will align you to the best thing you can experience in that context. So let's say that you have a particular job. Let's say you have a job in an insurance company. Now you can hold a frequency inside the insurance company job, that the most loving possible frequency that you can about having this job. It is probably unlikely that however much love you generate about the insurance agency job, it's unlikely that you'll be the next Ryan Seacrest from that position, just because inside the insurance company, you're holding a really high frequency of love. I'm not saying it's impossible. You could meet the casting director and that's what you've already been working on. It depends on the entire context. Maybe you have been working, if you haven't been working on all of the skills and intentions to become the next Ryan Seacrest, and you in the insurance job, you see the context means you haven't set it up as a relevant outcome. So inside the context, so it's what is relevant to you and the context in which you're holding a higher frequency. But if you wanted to start to get on path from the insurance agency job to be the next Ryan Seacrest, then you can start shifting your frequency that way. And it will come as you continue to shift that way and as it is relevant to you and your purpose and also the field. See, it is an entire concert universe. It's one song. So all of us are playing our part for the one song. So inside the context. And this is to point out, sometimes people, when they're being very skeptical, or let's just say skeptical, we say basically, why do good things happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? Or angels saved my son. I prayed and it saved my son from dying. But why didn't God save these other people? Why didn't God save the people who are in the war zones? And you know what I mean? Like, so that, as if that is to just prove the power of prayer or frequency or something. But you see, it was, and again, this isn't something to say when we're in the pain, we can't experience this, but it was more relevant for those individuals to experience the experience that they had. And case in point, we all are going to change forms. We're going to transition sometime. We're all going to dismiss our physical form, die. There's no real death. And so, again, in highest good, even though it causes pain in certain contexts, it is still relevant for all those concerned, and in that context, for certain things to happen. And this is to say, obviously it isn't relevant for me to become an NBA player, right? It just isn't. It never has been, and it just never will be. Even if I just start to fantasize how great it would be, it's just not relevant to me. And there are certain things that we do. We have set that intention even pre-birth, and we're just not going to change those things. I'm not going to change the fact that I am, a certain size, shape, and certain capacity of human physical being, right? I set up a lot of that in advance to a certain threshold of it. So again, it is shifting your inner frequency to the most loving, the highest frequency at the time. Sometimes on the lower end, it could be just, I wonder what good will come of this. Or if there is, let's say, something that isn't so devastating, just a job that you have that you want to shift. It doesn't suit you anymore. You don't feel aligned with it in that greater sense, and you want to shift to this other dream profession. Still being able to be in that job and just do the best that you can to feel good, to appreciate it for what it is. Because I know sometimes I get myself, we have this tendency, the ego says, wait, if you love the thing that you want to release, then you're actually just bringing it closer to you. You know what I mean? It's like, well, if I see the good in this job that I have that I don't want, that means that I'm going to be bringing it closer to me. The ego, and we all, ego is not an enemy or anything, but it is the lower mind rather than the higher mind, wants us to reject things. But that's not actually how we shift things, by focusing upon separation consciousness. We actually shift by focusing upon the frequencies of connection. So if you can find that, you can find the good and ways that you can be yourself and be a blessing in that experience, that's actually going to help you to move forward to the next thing, rather than, we don't really cut off a limb. That's not really how it works. So when you shift your field by finding the best way to experience love, that essentially tunes you to the higher aspect of yourself. And when you do that, when your field is tuned to love, so the who you are is shifted to more love and connection, then you automatically ascend to the higher dimensionality of the context. Let me say that again. When you shift your field to the higher, more loving, connected frequency, you essentially ascend to the higher aspect of the overall field. The field, if you want to think about dimensionality as like levels or something like that, or if you want to think about it as a full spectrum, like a diamond with endless facets. So you just shift to a different part of the diamond, and the one that aligns with your higher frequency. So now the insurance agency job feels really great today. I'm here today. I might as well feel good. I actually experienced a radical life change, a huge shift in one of my darkest times. Well, that's a bit heavy. Probably, whatever. I'll just keep it at that. My darkest times, at least so far as having to work and be a professional and make a living and try to support myself. I was absolutely at my wit's end with how difficult it was for me to be doing the thing that was helping me to pay my rent and feed myself and survive. It felt excruciating, not to overspeak it. I mean, it's not like I was a sex slave or something. That would be excruciating, or I was like burned with matches for a living. But it was emotionally very painful for me and mentally very difficult for me to do what I was doing. And I'll just tell you what it was. I was in hospitality. I was a server for a long time, but for even longer, I was bartending. Now, I loved the craft of making beverages because I came about it as cuisine, culinary, and I really loved that. But everything to do with the job, and not to say that this is a bad job, I see people who are friggin' light workers doing that work. But for me, and at the time, and what I was shifting, and all the energy that had built up to that, because it started, I started doing that work when I was a kid and in an abusive household and all this kind of stuff. So it had really compounded itself. But it also just came to the point where I was like, simply speaking, as much as I'm uncomfortable and upset and I don't want to do this, I got a little objective about it, and I said, I'm just ready to move on. I'm ready to graduate. I've senioritis, My husband's coming in. Hi. It's my husband. It's the lab. And so I was sitting with some colleagues, some friends, and I was complaining about what this coworker did and what the manager did and all this kind of stuff. And suddenly it was like my spirit guides must have tapped me on the head, because I was like, oh my gosh, I am so sick of me. I'm so sick. And these friends, they're my colleagues and friends, and we'd been friends for over 10 years, all three of us working in the same industry and sometimes in the same place. And so I was like, I'm so sick of myself. I have been telling this story to you guys over and over again, and it's just that the names are changing. Nothing else is changing. It's James and Christiana this time. Those are little people I worked with. Next time it's going to be Eric and Mark, and it's going to be the same thing. So I'm sick of saying it. I'm sick of feeling it, and I'm going to just stop saying it, and I'm going to stop feeling it. And then the next decision that I made, the next vow I made, and this is pre-awakening, as we call it, I guess. It's one of my pre-awakening experience, or one of my mini awakenings. I said, I'm going to go into work from now on. I'm going to be okay with the fact that I want to move on. And that feels like a contradiction. It feels like a paradox. I'm going to be okay with the fact that I'm ready to graduate from this. I'm just okay with it. I'm in transition. Okay, well, that's a place to be. That's sometimes where we are. That was the first thing. The second thing I'm going to be okay with, and so there I was honoring myself. I was saying it's okay to want to be moving forward from this. You're not bad for wanting to shift. That's okay. So I honored myself. The next thing I did was I said, I'm just going to be very nice. I know how to be very nice. Every person that comes in and every person I interact with, my colleagues, the customers, I'm going to just really be nice. And so then that was my way of activating love as much as I could. Someone's rude to me, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to assume they had a terrible day, that their bird died and their boss yelled at them, and they are starving, and they're there even though they don't have money to spend tonight, but they really, really just need a break. And I'm going to assume for example, and I'm going to try to be nice back. I'm going to find a way to be nice back. And so that was me connecting with others too. So I first started out with love for myself, and then I said, I'm going to be nice. So that was a way for me to shift my frequency to actually start to, as an electromagnetic field, the electro means to send out, and then to connect with others in what I was calling nice. Well, I made that decision, and it was, I don't remember exactly what the time was, but it was definitely within 2 months. Within 2 months, I got another job opportunity, and it took me 4 months to actually get the job opportunity because it was a long courting process of it, but it was my dream job at the time. It was, like I said, I was really interested in the culinary aspect of it. It was completely creative. It was something that I had been sending that signal out into the universe for like 6 years, and the job didn't even exist. It never existed. I actually created this job for this big company. I really, as I was going through the interview process with them, I was just being really present with it, and even telling my husband, he was my husband at the time, he was my boyfriend, but I was saying, okay, I'm just going to go in like I've kind of always done this with interviews, like we're dating. So it's not just that they're judging me and deciding if I'm good enough for them. I'm also judging them and deciding if they're good enough for me, to put it harshly. And so I was really present and going through the process, and I was just like, if they don't pick me, I just know that they are making both the wrong choice for themselves because I can see that I'm the best fit for them, or they're just letting me know that it's the right choice because then we don't align. You know what I mean? Like I kind of saw both sides of it. By them making the wrong choice means that it was the right choice for me because they don't understand what they need. And I kind of, that was my headspace about it. And then I ended up getting the job, and that was awesome. It's like to be able to create this job of all of the things that I had been cultivating, the things that I'm good at. And then to boot, I had no idea what they were offering. They didn't tell me until after they said you have the job. I didn't, and because I didn't know how to ask, what's the budget for this position? It turned out to be, let's see, I would say 5 times the amount I had ever made. Like the package, the salary and the package, 5 times that I had ever made in any year of my working life. My new boss on the phone told me it, and I was like speechless, and I was trying to play cool, and I was like, okay, sounds good. Yeah, thank you. And there were these perks. It was crazy. And it all started back when I decided to just do the best I could in a context that I wanted to be different, be okay with it. I wanted to be different, and shift it. Magic, y'all. That's how magical we are. So I was able to, going into the bartending job that I was ready to graduate from, I was able to feel the higher experience of that context and then shift to the highest possible reality, which puts me proximate to the next higher reality. Does that make some sense to you guys? So you may have heard the expression, we don't solve problems, we rise above them. We vibrate higher than them. And the way we vibrate higher than them is just to be focused on the love. Now, back to whether you make a choice, it doesn't matter what choice you make, it matters who you are when you make the choice. And I gave you a simple example of your best friend wants you to go to a party, but you're like, but maybe I want to stay home. And you could see love and maybe discomfort in both particular options. You could see if you can weigh out where the love is in more heavily weighted in whichever decision it is. And it could be either one. Neither one of those are exactly the right choice. Even if your best friend has a super strong opinion about which one is the right choice, it's not necessarily accurate. The right choice is only the one that you go after with love. So let's say you go ahead and say, I'm going to stay home. Not because I'm afraid that I'll get sick if I go out. That's a fear-based reason. But because I feel more love in this, wanting to be home with my kitties. Okay, I'm telling my own story. And wanting to get some rest, wanting to have a home-cooked meal, whatever. All of the things, that all of the love feels better there. And my friend will understand or she won't. And I love her no matter what. I'm just going to focus on the love and forget about maybe the potential fear that my friend will be mad at me. I'm going to just not even emphasize that. I'm going to focus on the love. And this is how, when we set an intention and then it unfolds, it's basically what faith is. So setting an intention or making a choice in love and then continuing to having an intention is an unfolding process. It's a journey as well as an event. It's starting the journey. That's step 1. That's my intention. I've set it. And then I take the next step in love, We get down the path a little bit. We're like, oh my gosh, I've just become an entrepreneur. I'm doing this on my own. It was a business that was born out of love, but now I'm out here on the ledge. Is this the right thing to do? Get back to love. Connect to that frequency of love, of the reasons that you made the choice. The reasons that reasons that you make the choice always exist. You, as a loving aspect of it, always exists. Enhance the love in your frequency, in your inner world, and then just say, I recognize your fears. I thank you for your warnings. I know you're there to keep me safe. See, we're actually kind of loving the fears. But I'm going to just let you be information, but I'm going to focus on the love. Focusing on the love will always put you in, will help your field to raise its vibration and then naturally help you ascend to the higher context of the overall field. So let me give you one final story that I heard today about this. So as I said, it doesn't matter what choice you make. It matters who you are when you make the choice. So what choice you make is the conditions. Who you are when you make the choice is you choosing to be connection and unconditional love. I heard a story today about Edgar Cayce. You know, he's called like the best psychic to ever have lived. If you're not familiar with him, go look him up. He passed now, but he was an American, and he was a phenomenal psychic and just like ridiculous pioneer of all of this that we connect in this space. So Edgar Cayce had one client who came to him who was a young woman. She was like 29 years old, and she came to him for a reading. She had this issue of being able to have meaningful relationships, friends, a boyfriend or something like that. And what her feedback was basically was this: she had this really bad reputation. Girls didn't want to be her friend because they thought she was loose and easy. And this is back in the probably 40s or 50s when, you know, that kind of thing was really affected your life even more than it does today. It still affects some people's lives, that kind of judgment. It can still be really important. But you can imagine, you know, in our mothers' and our grandmothers' day, if you were thought to be a loose woman, you couldn't be successful in life at all. That's what that unconsciousness of the collective was. Anyway, so she was thought to be a loose woman, and so, you know, she couldn't make any girlfriends. And then she couldn't keep a boyfriend. She couldn't get a boyfriend because the rumor about her was, hey, you know, call her for a good time, but don't take her home to mom. And so she couldn't get anyone to really date her. And the thing is, her truth was, she wasn't a loose woman. Sorry, it's a pejorative term. She wasn't promiscuous. She didn't actually have a lot of sex with a lot of guys or anything like that. She really didn't. She just had this reputation, and she didn't understand why she had it and how to shift it. No. Cayce did her reading, and he pulled in that she was bringing through a frequency from another life in which she was a prostitute, and as a prostitute, she basically was very selfish about it. She just used what she had. She used her body to get what she wanted. That was kind of her orientation about it. I'm going to just basically manipulate people and use my body to get the selfish thing that I want in this kind of low vibration. And so she was carrying that through, and that needed to be looked at and healed and released. So that's one of Edgar Cayce's clients. He had another client, another woman. And this woman was thought of as just an angel. And everybody just loved her. And everybody they just felt wonderful around her. She had friends and, you know, loved ones. And just everyone just automatically thought that she was just an amazing, wonderful, loving person. Everyone wanted to be around her. So she got a reading from Edgar Cayce. And in her reading, he discovered that in a recent past life or something like that she was a prostitute. And her perspective of being a prostitute was she didn't have much, so she was going to give what she had, which was loving companionship to a man. And that was the way that she handled the exact same choice, the exact same profession, the exact same circumstance and context. So she was carrying through from that life this positive energy, and it's obviously serving her, so it didn't need release, but and she was able to emit that frequency in a very positive way into this life. So it doesn't matter what choice you make. You could even be a prostitute. It matters who you are when you make the choice. Shift your inner frequency, shift your outer life. And that is something that is assured for all of us. Why? Because the field is made of love, and it's available to us. We're made of love. It's possible, it's available, and that is the door that is always answered when we knock.